welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all doing very, very well this Thursday. It's book tag day. I don't often do book tags, but this one caught my eye over on Aoife's channel, Words of Clover. I'll link Aoife's video of this tag, plus the original tag maker down below. Go and check them out. And it's called the Quarter Year Crisis book tag. Now, I quite enjoy doing the old mid-year freak-out book tag halfway through the year and then towards the end of the year. And these questions are very similar. I'm aware we're over a quarter of the way through the year now. I mean, it's the end of April, so we're basically a third of the way through the year, which means better put my Christmas tree up next weekend. Joking, that is a bit too early. But yeah, I really like the questions, and I thought it would be a good way to check in on how my reading's doing so far this year. And yeah, I'll write all the questions down below. Would love to hear your answers in the comments. Let me know. Let me know how you're getting on with your reading. So the first question is, how many books have you read so far this year? The number is 39. I don't set a number of books that I need to read every year, so this is a good number. It's a number. And just additionally, I've DNF'd 3 books, so I haven't finished 3 books. Now, that number is normally quite low because I'm pretty good at picking books, which I think I'm gonna read all the way through. And the only time I DNF a book or give it a really low star rating is if I've had to read it for a book club. Particularly the book club that I run on Patreon, because I want to be able to provide the book club service to you. Or if, more recently, I've read a book for a literary prize that I haven't enjoyed. That's where the DNFs appear. So 39 books I've read this year so far, towards the end of April, and 3 DNFs. Second question is, have you already found a book you think might be a favourite? If not, what was your favourite book you read that wasn't quite a 5-star? I've read a few 5 stars this year, not loads. I'll be doing my mid-year favourite books of the year in June, and because that's only 6 months, often it's not all 5-stars in there. But one 5-star that I've read this year that I've really, really enjoyed, and like I said, there's been a few. I think there has been 3. My favourite book I've read this year, which was a 5-star, I read in January, which is lovely to read. Like that's happened last year as well. I read Slug by Holly McNish in January last year, which ended up being one of my favourite books of the year. I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin in January, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. We read it for Patreon book club, so not only did I get the joy of reading it and having such a wonderful time reading it, I also got the joy of discussing it with a book club where the majority of the people also really enjoyed it, and we all had a really, really good discussion about it. So really, really loved it. It's about gaming, which isn't something that I'm into at all. But it's about sort of creativity and gaming and relationships. We follow a sort of trio of friends, mainly 2, a boy and a girl, and their friendship when they met in a hospital waiting room in the 80s, and they bonded over games. And then we follow both of those in their sort of teenager years and into their early adulthood, and they're coming together to create games. And yeah, it was just a real sort of like ode to creativity and ode to hard work and platonic love, and I loved it. I think I just heard a mouse. No mouse there. David and I, if you've been around here for a while, David and I had we had a mouse visitor for a while, and he disappeared. We never saw him again. But we recently did a really, really, really big clean, and we found some mouse suggestions, i.e. poo, nuts. He'd been in the bird feed and eaten loads and loads of hazelnuts, been having a lovely time shelling all of those. But we haven't found him anywhere, and now we've cleared out 2 places where there was lots of mouse suggestions in the little bedroom. Oh, there he is. He's just gone in the kitchen. 2 seconds. Well, I couldn't find him in the kitchen, but that's... I don't know how we're going to get rid of him. I don't want to kill him, but the humane traps aren't working. And I just don't know where he is, because there's nowhere for him to hide in that cupboard anymore. We've taken everything out. There used to be lots of like little nooks and crannies, same as the little bedroom. Mouse drums. I don't know how we're going to get rid of him. I actually don't know. I listened to the Off Menu podcast recently of Lily Allen. We will get back into the bookish questions soon. I listened to the Off Menu podcast of Lily Allen recently. She lives in New York and she says there's a lot of rodent problems, rat and mouse. Say him again. No, but you can't. I've shut him in the kitchen. And she tried everything. Exterminators in, all sorts. And the only thing that she could do was get a cat, and then the mouse just stopped coming because there's a cat. I've already got a cat and that's not working. Oh, I don't bloody know. Well, anyway, he's shut in the kitchen for the time being. I don't know how we're going to get rid of him. Suggestions below, please. Right, back to the questions. I think I just finished talking about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which has been my favourite book of this year. Yeah, a great book about gaming, relationships, creativity, and loved it. Really, really loved it. I think if you're a fan of John Green, you would enjoy this. It sort of had the relationship aspects that John Green books have had when I've read them. But yeah, I really, really loved it. Amazing book. Number 3 is any 1-star books or least favourite books of the year so far. Now, as I said, I don't often pick up books that I'm not going to enjoy or books that I give 1 star because I sort of know my reading by now. But 2 books, there's been 2 1-star books this year. The first one was a children's book that I listened to on audio, and it's The Book That No One Wanted to Read by Richard Aoife. And the only reason I finished it is because it was 50 minutes long and I had it on audio. And I think I listened to it on the walk to and back from the library and then making myself a cup of tea. This was the most boring book I think I've ever read in my whole life, and it's a children's book. So how on earth they were planning on capturing the Richard, who I love, by the way, I think he's amazing and really funny, capturing the imaginations of children in order to keep them interested in this book, I don't know. Maybe I missed something because I didn't have it in print, but I found it really, really boring, really, really flat. It's about a book that nobody wants to read, and it's just dull. The audio itself was dull. Everything about it did not enjoy. And then the other book I gave 1 star was a YA book that we read for, we read in March for Patreon Book Club. So yeah, really, really enjoyed the Gabrielle Zevin Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Gave that 5 stars, but also sometimes we read books in book club that I give 1 star, and that was A Million to One by Adiba Jaigerda, which, as I said, was a YA book about, I mean, the premise itself sounds amazing. Weirdly, if you go and watch Aoife's video after this is also a book she mentions as one of the worst books she'd read this year as well. And it's about a group of 4 young women aboard the Titanic trying to pull off a heist where they're trying to steal this book that's embedded with diamonds. It was so, like, well, just bad. Like, it was very much written like, oh, and then we ran to the next room and then we hid in there for a while and then we ran to the next bit and then we did this, and there was a lot of sort of like telling, not showing. It was, the plot was poor, the dialogue between the characters was terrible, everything about it did not enjoy, and it was not really enjoyed by book club as well. So yeah, we quite enjoyed discussing that one as well. Next one is the genre I have most read so far this year, and no surprise to myself, was literary fiction. I've read, out of the 39 books that I've read, 14 of them have been literary fiction. Literary fiction is my most read genre every year. I suppose I could tell you that the other, I think I got 5, was the next number down was 5 memoirs, which I've definitely picked up more in more recent years. Been reading a bit more memoirs, but yeah, literary fiction. The question number 5 is a book that surprised you, and I've picked this as a book that surprised me in a bad way, really, and that was the book Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I read this earlier on in the year as a sort of plan to get into a series. I wanted to be able to read a series of books this year, and I had very high hopes for this, and yeah, there was part of this book I really, really loved. For example, I really loved the main character, Claire Randall. The book is set in 1940s Scotland, and Claire and her husband are on a second honeymoon after reconnecting after spending a lot of time apart during the war. She worked as a nurse, he was on the front, and they go to Scotland on their second honeymoon, and while they're there she gets sucked into a sort of time vortex and ends up in 1500 Scotland, and she meets her husband's great grandfather, who is not a very nice man, and forms a relationship with somebody else who she meets, a Scottish chap. And yeah, the premise also sounds great. Loved Claire herself. I think she's really witty and clever and like a great woman, but there is I was so surprised by how much awful sexual assault and sort of gratuitous violence and sexual assault is in there, and how at some points the book promotes gaslighting and sexual assault and like very big red flags as cheeky little romantic behaviour, and that really surprised me and disappointed me. So yeah, I've picked that book, and I'm still torn with whether or not I'm going to carry on with the second book. I've got it, so I use Libby to get a lot of my audiobooks, and it keeps coming that I get it, the audiobook. It's like 28 hours long, so I really need to be able to commit myself to like over an hour, because I only get it for 21 days, so I need to be able to commit myself to over an hour a day of reading that. And I keep thinking, am I going to go around to reading that this month? No, I'll push it off to next month. Am I going to read it? And there's like 9 books in this series. Now, people tell me that like the books themselves, like the sexual assault and the violence and stuff, disappears towards the end of the series. So am I prepared to push through books 2 and 3, where I've heard that it's very bad, as bad as the first book? I don't know. But yeah, that surprised me, because I thought it was going to be a great series that I loved, and even when I started reading it, I was like, this is great, I'm going to really, really love this. And then the not nice surprise was that there was lots and lots of things in there that really troubled me. So that's that one. Number 6 is a book that came out in 2023 that you want to read but haven't yet. I've got 3 on here that I'm really keen to read. 2 actually, their publication days are today. Congratulations on your publication day. Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. I've pre-ordered that and it hasn't arrived today, so I'm very disappointed. I've had my post and it didn't arrive, so hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. Preloved by Lauren Bravo, which did arrive today. I'll show you the front cover. I should be inserting all the pictures here. Yeah, this is, I mean, you know, I love pre-loved fashion and buying secondhand and things like that, and as does Lauren. And this is all about a character, Gwen, who starts getting things from charity shops, and yeah, it sounds really good. It's a tale about friendship loss and forging a new path despite your own baggage, lovingly celebrating and enduring power and joy of charity shops. I thought that just sounds great. If only it was paperback and I'd be taking it on my honeymoon, but I can't take loads of hardbacks on my honeymoon. I can only take paperbacks because I'm not going to have enough baggage space. And then the last one is one that is already out, The Secrets of Hartfield Hall by Katie Lumsden, fellow booktuber. Very excited to read that as well. So those are 3. Number 7 question is one goal you made that you were succeeding with. So actually, I'll do question 7 and 8 together in a lump, because question 7 is one goal you made that you were succeeding with, and question 8 is one goal you made that you need to focus on. So if I go back to my reading goals for this year, because I made a video about this earlier this year, my reading goals were no particular number of books I would like to read, so tick, succeeding, because no particular books I would like to read. The rest of it, not as good. So I said I wanted to read a series. The 2 series I picked out were Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. As I said, I read the first book, having problems, don't know if I'm going to carry on. And then the second series is Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. Now, I have read the first book in that series before, I think in 2020, lockdown 1.0, and I read that on my e-reader. I got it out from the library, and I read it in 2 stints, because as I've said with Libby, quite often you get books out from the library and then they have to go and then you get them back again. So I now have the paperback copy of Daughter of the Forest, and I would like to start the series again and read it sort of at my own pace without having to wait like 4 weeks in between reading the first 2/3 and the last third. So that could still happen. There's 3 books in that series. That could still happen. We'll see. But I would like to read it again, and I might take it on my honeymoon. Like I said, it's paperback, but it's a big old paperback, so I might take it on my honeymoon. There's a lot. Don't know where I'm going to get much else done. It's just all reading on this honeymoon. And then 2 readathons. Oh, well, a readathon I wanted to take part in is the Irish Readathon. I've taken part in the Irish Readathon. Do it every year. Enjoy it. Something else I put here is that I want to host my own 90s readathon. I've done nothing to do with that, but I would like to host my own 90s readathon, so I need to have a little think about that. I think I'd like to host like a sort of 90s month, really, where we celebrate films from the 90s, music from the 90s, fashion from the 90s, reading books from the 90s. So yeah, I need to find a time to plan that, because I think it will be really good fun. And when I mentioned it in my reading resolutions video at the beginning of the year, a few people were like, yeah, I'd really like that. And then the last thing I put down is that I wanted to reread all the Sarah Waters books. There has been rumours that we're getting a new Sarah Waters book this year. Now, I haven't heard anything more, and if it's coming out in sort of in time for Christmas, I think we might have heard rumours of it by now, so maybe it's next year. But I would like to reread all the Sarah Waters books, but looking at the end of April and I've done none of that, maybe that isn't going to happen. So there we go. And then question number 9 is new to you booktubers for 2023. So I've got 2 to mention. mention. And I will link both of these channels down below, and they're both amazing women, and I've really been enjoying watching their channels. And yeah, I'll link them down below. So the first one is Heroine's Corner, and I found this channel via a video which was celebrating black British books that are out this year, and I got loads of loads of recommendations from that, and was literally like watching the video and on my library website just like reserving all the books that she was mentioning. So definitely go and check out Heroine's Corner. And then Charlotte Molloy, who I found through Women's Prize stuff, she was sort of making predictions for the Women's Prize, and has done Women's Prize reaction videos, and very much enjoy her channel and her thoughts as well. So 2 channels to go and check out. But yeah, I enjoyed doing this. Sorry about the mouse interlude in the middle. I'm a bit worried about what we're going to do about that mouse. But yeah, interested in your mouse thoughts. And yeah, see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!